Okay, we're back. Now we'd like to talk to you about how to find financial aid. You may not be wealthy, not many of us are Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. So how do you find the money to go back to school? Most of your schools will have a financial aid director or officer that will carry you through the process, the application for financial aid. But in addition to that, you may not want to go into debt. You may not want to take on additional loans or what have you. So how do you find grants, fellowships, scholarships to finance your education?
Okay, first of all, first thing you want to do is do your homework. Go online, see what grants are available, what companies that are involved in going back to school for my education, giving you funding for going back to school.
So are we talking about private corporations or?
Yes,
Like,
Kellogg's, for example.
Kellogg's? Okay, yeah.
Kellogg's gives $1 million for people going back to school. Did you know that?
Didn't know that.
Yes.
That's phenomenal.
Kellogg's. You also have nonprofit organizations out there to give you money to go back to school. Did you realize that I had a friend of mine who used Shell oil to go back to school with?
Wow, that's exciting. So you mean I could go back to school on Shell oil?
Yes.
All right.
You can go back to school on Shell oil. Any major corporation, they give you funding to go back to school. Why? Because it's called a tax write-off.
So now let me get this straight. I can look up on the internet private corporations for private funding.
Correct.
Is there any public funding out there?
Sure. There's federal government, such as Pell Grants. They can give you grants. What other grants?
Well,
I forgot the number.
you're right. There's usually the federal money. Then there's local money. You have your state. Every state has scholarships and fellowships that they give. Okay. Then you have your cities. Most of your cities have some level of funding. And church, synagogue, and temple organizations normally have some type of funding or support. It's small, but it's there. And did you know that if you go online, there's a place called the Foundation Center. Foundation Center is the catalog of all the grants and fellowships and scholarships in the United States where they give money. Did you know that Ebony Magazine gives
You mean to tell me
grants?
Johnson Johnson?
Johnson gives grants and scholarships.
That's great.
There's places like the Negro College Fund. Mine is a terrible thing to waste. And they'll help finance. Now a lot of these grants are small, $500 to $1,000 and sometimes even more. Now here's the key thing. The way you get this money is by matching the subject area. Okay? They have to know exactly what you're studying. Let's say they give a grant for medical, okay, you're going back into the medical field. All right? Well, that's what you go out there, money or funding for medical school, for going back to whether it's being a nurse, a doctor, or a medical assistant, or what have you.
Mm-hmm. And also, sororities and fraternities also
yes.
give financial aid.
So call big brother, call big sister, and ask them to help you out. Also, keep in mind that it helps America, it helps our society, the more education you have, because that puts more educated people in the process of doing the services, delivering the services that we want to offer to all citizens. Okay? So look into, sit with your minister or your priest or your rabbi or what have you, and talk to them about the possibility of funding being available. You're sitting there and you're talking to that school counselor. Let them know what your financial situation is. You don't have the money to go back. Maybe you have a child or children that need child care. Find out whether the school has provisions for that, whether there's funding available for those services as well. You want a situation where once you sign on the dotted line to go back, you can give full commitment and there'll be no distractions to you completing your education.
And also find out if the school provides daycare for your child while you're taking classes as well. Why? Because you don't want to miss a day of class, okay? Because of your child not having someone to care for them. So there's also funding for that as well.
What if you have special needs? What if you're dyslexic, have dysgraphia, or some of the other ailments or developmental processes that happen with us as human beings? Short-sighted, nearsighted, maybe you're blind, mute. There are resources out there, both on the federal and local level, for you to tap into. I was just looking at a grant the other day for people with dyslexia. It helps provide them with a machine to help them do the writing process so that they can meet the normal standards. Now, is this an advantage or disadvantage? I believe it's an advantage because it's our society saying, look, we're going to level the playing field for you, give you the same opportunity that everyone else should have.
Well, how does that feel it happens in the job market? If I'm out in the job market, how can that help me?
Well, it can help you this way. Most jobs are equipped with materials necessary to help people who are handicapped. And they have to hire a handicapped. They have to give you consideration. Just like the school gave you consideration to get your education, there has to be a place for you in the job market.
Okay, so now these are your resources that you use. So please, go out there and use them to better your lifestyle for you as well as your family.
And don't forget about the local fundraiser. Cookies, bake sales, cookie sales, lemonade stands. It may sound corny, but those are our areas where you can yourself put forth the initiative to raise garage sales, scavenger hunts, anything that, again, puts you in the driver's seat of financing your education.